We have a few more people jumping on, but if you are just joining us, please do put in the chat where you are joining us from today. We're happy to have everybody. Excited to tell you about the CatalogIt program that we've just migrated to at the St. Joseph Museums. So welcome everyone. My name is Sara Wilson and I am the Executive Director of the St. Joseph Museums in St. Joseph, Missouri. I've been here actually since 2013. The first year that I was director, the first year that I worked at the St. Joseph Museums, I was actually the interpretive planner. And then I switched over to director in 2013. Part of my early career in the museum field started in the 1990s, and I worked a lot in collections when I began working in museums. I started out probably like a lot of you with Past Perfect. That program was put into place in around 1998, and they had done a few updated versions. I think their most recent version was in 2010. When I came to the St. Joseph Museums, we were using Past Perfect, and we were using Past Perfect on a lot of different computers. And so we had, for our collections, our object collections, the curator at that time would be entering into her computer. And then our archives manager would be entering her archives information into her computer, a separate computer. And sometimes that information was being brought together. We also had membership that was going through a separate computer. So we had various collections that were being processed into Past Perfect through various computers. And sometimes we would bring all that information together. But if I needed to go access, say, object information, I would have to go to a particular computer in the objects area. So when I became director, one of my big priorities was to combine all of those data sets together so that I could have access to them. And so that was one of the major projects that we did early on when I became director of the St. Joseph Museums, was to merge all those database into a cloud-based server. And our staff at that time had really wanted to stay with Past Perfect because they were used to it. It's been around for a very long time. I had hoped to go to a web-based system, but that's not what we chose to do at that time. So that was a big process. Any data migration is kind of nerve-wracking and you have to coordinate a lot of different things. And so we were excited as a staff, I think collectively, to get everything into one place on a cloud that we could all access. And so as we were updating information, it was getting updated pretty much instantaneously into that database. COVID hit just this last year, and because of that, we decided to go a different direction. So a couple of things happened simultaneously. Emily Zeeman joined our staff as our registrar and archives manager. She brought with her a skill set that we didn't have previously, a knowledge based upon her program that she had just finished of, sort of how new technology could be used in the museum and archives field. Once COVID hit, we kind of migrated to working at home. And in order to access our cloud-based server, we all had to get a VPN so that we could access that. And that worked out okay. I think if we had had a web-based server at that, or a web-based system at that time, it would have been much, much easier for us. The other thing that happened because of COVID is we started fielding so many more research requests than we had ever had to field before, to the point where it just was taking an incredible amount of staff time. And so we were kind of forced to make a switch, because in order to be able to continue to reach our community and answer those research requests, we had to make a change. So my policy, since I've been at the St. Joseph Museums, has always been that we digitize for access, not for preservation. And that's something that I've always said, because I want to keep and preserve for us our physical copies as much as possible. But when we have research requests, we will digitize things so people can have access to them. And so when we were kind of thinking about how we manage these research requests, I just basically, I think, talked to Emily and I said, we're not able to effectively, quickly manage these research requests. What should we do? I think, and maybe Emily, you can jump in here and kind of add on to that conversation, but I said, I think we need a new solution. I think she said we needed a new solution. And so Emily, what was that whole process like?
The whole process in trying to find a solution for us to do research requests or even just to access the database from home really stemmed from me just looking around and seeing what everyone else was doing. What was the new online database that people were looking at? I wanted one specifically that we would be able to publish stuff online. I know Past Perfect has an online version, and I looked at reviews and what everyone's been saying about it. And some people said they liked it, and then a lot of people said they didn't. And I kind of looked around to other people, and when I found CatalogIt's website, I started calling, I think I called all of their references that they listed on their website and talked to someone in the organization and asked, different questions to each one. What was it like switching over? Did you have any problems? What are the things that you enjoy about it most? And then I started calling people that I found on Facebook. So I kind of went everywhere in my search to determine if, CatalogIt was the way for us to go. And yeah, here we are right now.
So I guess we'll talk a little bit later about all the pros and cons and what that looked like at the St. Joseph Museums. But from my perspective, having gone through the migration, I would like to say, like, since I started in the field in the late 1990s, CatalogIt is really the database system solution for collections management and archives management that I've really been looking for since that time. It has brought just a lot of benefit to our organization. And I would also say that more than anything else that we've done at the St. Joseph Museum since I've been here in 2013, migrating over to CatalogIt has changed how we're able to serve our community in amazing ways. It's been probably one of the most transformative things for our museums. So Emily and I can go into some of those details a little bit later, but we have Dan Rael here from CatalogIt. And before we kind of get into our specific situation, we'd like to have him just have the opportunity to give you an overview of the program and how it works. So Dan, are you ready to jump in?
Well, first of all, thanks so much, Sarah and Emily. I really appreciate the opportunity here. I'm so glad that that we connected up, our paths crossed, and we're really happy to have migrated St. Joseph. It was a big migration for us. I mean, you were a large collection, around 90,000 entries, so a pretty substantial collection, and I think that overall went really quite smoothly. So you can talk a little bit more about that when we get over to there. So super quick background on me. My background is in college. I studied anthropology and archaeology. I was an archaeologist for a number of years, actually working for the federal government out here in California. My little bit of museum background: when I was in college, I actually worked at the museum on campus. I was going to school at University of New Mexico at the time. The campus museum had a huge anthropological collection and a large Native American basket collection. And I just really got into loving those baskets and started collecting them. And that kind of got me into collecting, and it was really kind of the need for me to document my own collections that actually evolved ultimately into this whole system that you see now of CatalogIt. So I'm going to share my screen here and just to give you just a quick sort of overview of what CatalogIt looks like and how it works. So hopefully you can see the screen right now. So when you first log into CatalogIt, this is where you'll come to. You'll come to a screen that's called All Entries, and it's literally all your stuff is all there. It all lives, happily together. So it's not like, a system like Past Perfect where you've got your archives and your objects and your library. They all live differently. Here, they're all here together. And what you're looking at here is a little thumbnail image of your item, the name you've given it, how you've cataloged it, the classification within CatalogIt you've used, documented, and then your object ID number is showing up here as well. What's really handy about All Entries, and I think Sarah or Emily will touch on this later, is the ability to search. So this is a full text search across every piece of text across all your entries. It can be really, really handy. And you can use it almost like an internet search where you can put a string of words and quotes and it'll find that exact string. You can search for an accession number and it'll find everything that's tied to that accession. You can use the plus symbol in between words and find entries that include all those words, but not necessarily together. But let's say I've got a research request and someone's interested in my Native American items that include this material called redbud. It's a common California plant material. So I'm just going to search for redbud. And here I quickly get, these are the items I've got that include redbud in them. Now, I can also switch back and forth between this thumbnail view and a list view. And the list view gives me a little bit more information. It gives me the description as well. So I can hop back and forth. Maybe I've got 40 entries or 40 things came up in my search results, but I'm only looking for a specific one. Switching to that list view can be really handy here. But let's go back to the thumbnail view. Let's go into one of these entries here. I'm going to take a look at this baby rattle, for instance. And we'll take a look at, this is what an entry looks like in CatalogIt. So first of all, as many images as you want to. There's no limit to the number of images or the size of images that you attach to your entry. You can include as many. I think I've got, a few extra close-ups here of that basket, the baby rattle basket. The types of information you can include at CatalogIt, of course, what you'd really expect, but we really strive to make it as intuitive as possible. So our field names are they're intuitive names. They're names that your volunteers should have no problem at all looking at that field name and knowing what kind of information goes in there. And even we also even usually have text fields or little hint text fields. So when you click on that field, it'll tell you what kind of information belongs in the field. So it makes it easy to do good cataloging. One of the other things you may notice here is that there's little tiny tags all over the place scattered throughout these records. And those are what we call profile fields in CatalogIt. And those actually allow you to relate your collections by whatever that piece of information is. And you're actually, as you're cataloging along without even really thinking about it, you're creating a huge web of all kinds of connections throughout your catalog. So I can look at this and look at everything I've got that relates to Jennifer Maloney, everything that I've got that has a Weaver, everything from Central California. These Library of Congress terms or nomenclature terms, they're all profile fields. All the specific materials that the thing is made of, I can look and see, the description of the material that I've got and anything else I've got that uses it. Locations within the museum, those are all profiles as well down, so they're very handy. Let's take a look at Jennifer's tag here. I'm going to click on Jennifer and I'll get a little pop-up looking into her person record within CatalogIt. So I have some information about her life. I also have a live web link in here if I want to go look at this, another website, a bio of her. I've only got this one item tied to her, but it's right here. I can, if she had multiple items, they'd all show up right here. I can quickly see everything that has some kind of connection to Jennifer. Let's go back. And I'll talk a little bit about reporting here as well. Again, let's say somebody contacted me and we're interested in my Redbud items here. Now I'm going to click on my 3 dots up here. This is what we call the actions menu in CatalogIt. And I'm going to say print, and I'm going to say print pages. So this is a really quick and easy way to prepare a report. So it defaults to showing your primary image. If you want to include all images, you can do that as well. I'm actually just going to include my primary image. It defaults to showing some of the basic information about the item, but you can click all, and then any field that's any place in use, either in this case in the search results, but from any particular item or a folder, even if you wanted to, anything that's in use will show up here. So you just decide what other items you want to add. I'm going to add my artist role in there. I'm going to add my relationships in there, and I want to add my ethnography. So I just click these buttons and that information pops in over here. Now I can print this to a PDF and email it off. So in less than 45 seconds or less than a minute, I've created a nice report, multiple items in it, have sent it off to the person that requested it. I've quickly been able to share that kind of information. It's really, really a handy function there. Let's go back. I'm going to close this out here and we'll talk about creating an entry in CatalogIt. It's a simple thing. Down here in the corner, you've got this orange plus to create a new entry. I'm on my computer, so it's giving me a few options here. I can grab a photo that I've got saved someplace in my photo files. If it's some kind of a file, a PDF file or an Excel file or a Word document that I want to use to start to create the entry, I can do it with that. I can also create it without any kind of image at all, without any file attachment, and just start creating the entry. Now, what I didn't mention earlier is that everything I'm doing here, you can do from your phone or your tablet as well. So you just download the CatalogIt app from the App Store or Google Play, log in just like you're logging in at your computer, and you're connected in with your full collection. So as soon as you click save on your phone, it's saved everywhere. I'm going to grab a photo off my photo file here. What you don't see, I don't think, in the share, you might, is that it's open up my Finder here. So I just need to find the item I want to catalog. It's this image of these kids here. I'm going to give it a quick name here. The Adams Children. Here I can do a little bit of manipulation to the photo. I could rotate it if I needed to, or crop it, zoom in or out. But CatalogIt is actually always storing your original photo in its original format, in its original size and original file name. It's always being stored and available to you in the cloud. So you can do a little bit of manipulation, though it's going to show going forward, presented in your records, but that original photo is always going to be saved for you. So in CatalogIt, the next thing it's going to say is what sort of a thing is this? How do you want to catalog it? And it's going to show recommended whatever you've used most recently. In the folder that you're in, you just scroll down and find the most appropriate classification. There's actually a lot of classifications in CatalogIt here. By selecting one of these, you're bringing in fields that are specific for documenting that particular type of an item here. So I've uploaded my image. If I had an image of the back, I can drag and drop that in here. If I'm on my phone, I could take a picture of it and upload it immediately into the entry. But I'm ready to go ahead and start to document it here. And again, you can see what the fields look like. A description field is a text field, and we give you a little idea. It's a description of the entry. Some of them are really pretty self-explanatory here. What type of a photograph is it? This is a silver. See, I just start to type in silver. It is actually a silver chloride gelatin print. The subject of the work. So this is just a text description for what the general subject of the photo is. But in this case, there's subject people, subject persons or organizations. If there was some kind of a business as well that was in this image, I could include that as well. But here's where I just start to type in the people. And now most of these people are already in my system here. So I just have to start to search for them. If I could type, Joseph Adams is one of the kids, Mary. So I just have to search for them. I'll quickly find them, and I'm attaching them along with their profile. So here's where I'm starting to really create those links here. I'm linking these people here to their profiles that I've got already created in my system here. Wesley Adams Jr. So I just have to start to type in those letters here. If the person doesn't already exist in my system, I can click the plus here and add them in. And I can create a really detailed person profile, or I can create one that's just their name and add more information as I get it later on. Now the subject place, I know where this is taken in front of their home here in Oakland where I live. Places in CatalogIt are completely hierarchical. You can see here I've got the Adams home. It's in Oakland, in California, in the United States, in North America. So this is a full hierarchy, and I can actually add into this hierarchy anything else I wanted to. If I wanted to put the specific neighborhood within Oakland or the county, I can include those things within the hierarchy here. And then again, it becomes searchable now at any one of those levels of the hierarchy. So I'm not going to go through and catalog the full photo here, but I think you get the idea of generally how it works in CatalogIt. So I'm going to click save. Actually, I'm going to add this into another folder. I've created this in my all entries folder, but with CatalogIt, you can actually put that entry into as many other folders as you want to. It's really just kind of a way of displaying it in different groups for workflow purposes, or in this case, you can see some of my folders here. Some are divided by the type of object. Some are divided by project work. I've got a folder here for my photographs. I'm going to attach this to my photograph folder, and I'm also going to attach it into my to be cataloged folder, things that I know I still want to add more information to. And I'm done. If I had my accession record created, I could actually attach it to the accession record, and CatalogIt will automatically populate the next number in that accession numbering. And I'm going to click save here, and it will populate this into my all entries here. Here it is down here in the very corner, covered by my count button here. So when I click on there, you can see the information that we've created, and you can see all these tags. So almost without thinking about it, I've started to create a bunch of relationships to this photo here. So let's go back. I'm just going to talk super quickly about web publishing. I know that several of you are interested in that. In CatalogIt, you're publishing whole folders of things at a time. So as you're creating your collections, you want to think about folders and think about how you might want to organize stuff to eventually publish as groups. When I click over here on my main menu, you can see my all entries folder, and you also see all the other folders I've got, including ones that have a little globe symbol in them. And those are folders that I'm publishing out to the internet. Now, to give you a quick idea of what that looks like, included with any subscription to CatalogIt is the ability to publish to the CatalogIt hub. So it's not like, I mean, with somebody like PastPerfect, you have to actually subscribe or pay extra to use their PastPerfect online system. So with CatalogIt, you can automatically publish to the hub. You can create a page that looks sort of like this one here. You upload your logo or an avatar image, whatever you want to use for your background image. This is actually an old postcard of Oakland that I'm using as my background image here. You can have a link back to your website, a nice description of your entity. And then here's what your folders look like when they're being published. So here, for instance, is my photographs folder. Now I put that image that we just now were looking at into my photographs folder. It's automatically published here to the web, along with the information that I'm allowing to be published. So you have complete control over what images are being published and what data actually is accompanying them. You can also see that I've got a watermark set here. You can set your own, create your own watermark and decide where you want it to appear if you want your images watermarked as well. So again, the hub is included with CatalogIt. There's also, for an additional subscription, you could be publishing directly onto your own website. So I'm going to just show you quickly a couple examples of that. This is the Royal Montreal Regiment Museum in Montreal, Canada. They're using our iframe integration, which is probably the simplest way to publish to your site. It's essentially a mirror image of what you'd be publishing to the CatalogIt hub, but onto your own website here. So this way someone's not directed away, they can actually come and visit the objects within your own website. We also have a pretty neat WordPress plugin, and this is our demo WordPress website, Anytown Museum. And this is an example of how you might be publishing using the WordPress plugin. So we have some links up here. I can click on online catalog, for instance, and you can see what that would look like, or what you can do with the WordPress plugin. It allows you a lot of customization as to how your things appear. So again, here I'm publishing directly onto onto my website. The photographs, if I go here, including the one that we just now added, is already here. It's up on my own website here. Go back to my home. So imagine, somebody's visiting your website, they can either click on something like online catalog, but you also have a little bit of control over where things, how things will appear. So I'm scrolling down, visiting the website. Oh, here's my current exhibitions. These are actually also links directly to specific folders in CatalogIt. So you can add a nice description for an exhibition, for instance, and have the items of the exhibition display there. Now, other ways people are using it here, for example, is the Chattanooga Historical Society. They're publishing using CatalogIt onto their own website. They're also using the WordPress plugin. So these are actually links to their folders that they're publishing, but directly onto their website. They've done a really beautiful job of it. So these are kind of like steps moving up from the iframe to the plugin, and then depending on your technical capability, you can actually build a completely custom display using our API. And this is a nice example of that. This is the Vermont Historical Society. So they're actually publishing from their CatalogIt catalog directly onto their website. And it doesn't look at all like CatalogIt. This is entirely their own branding, their own display, their own, their completely customized display. So that is how that looks. So those are just some of the quick options with CatalogIt. I also want to mention really quickly, I'm going to go to the CatalogIt website. So www.catalogit.app. I was just going to mention within our resources here, you can actually come to webinars and actually sign up for we have a live museum demo every week. It's actually tomorrow. If you want to sign up for our Thursday demo, you can register right here. You can also watch our recorded. We have a whole series of short videos that kind of describe how museum account works in CatalogIt. So you're welcome to go out there and take a look. Again, www.catalogit.app, and then resources and webinars. As you heard from Sara and Emily, we migrated them out of Past Perfect. We've been offering for the last probably 2 years now, and for the time being, we're still continuing to offer to migrate out of Past Perfect for free. We do a lot of Past Perfect migrations. We've got it down to a science. We can move them really fairly quickly here. I think we've probably migrated 5 or 6 Past Perfect accounts in the last week and a half. I mean, we move them really quickly. So if you're a Past Perfect user, you're in luck. We would migrate you for free. So with that, I will hand it back over. I think I'll probably talk too long as it is. So thanks again. And I'm here to answer any questions as you go along, listening to Emily and Sara talk about how they're using CatalogIt there at St. Joseph. So I'll go back over here and I will stop sharing. I think you'll want to share your own.
Thank you, Dan. That's amazing. So Emily sat down with the CatalogIt team and Dan and researched whether or not, I think probably for a month or two, whether CatalogIt was going to be the right choice for us. And we looked at what that migration process would be, pricing, kind of all of the questions that you ask when you're looking into doing a large data migration. And I don't know if you guys have done these or are accustomed to them, but they're scary. I mean, to me, they're very, very scary. And so I kept saying, like, are you sure we're not going to lose anything? Are you like, what is our backup plan? For my own edification, tell me, once we migrate this data, what's it look like? And so, Emily, do you want to jump in and kind of talk about that process of migration and how that went?
Yeah, our process of migration was just as Dan said, it was very simple on their side. I think our hardest thing that we had to do is because we were a cloud-based, it was kind of difficult to get our website or our database off of the cloud. What we had to actually do is contact our cloud server, send them CatalogIt's drive, have them put it onto their main server, have them pull it off, and then they sent it back to us. It kind of went a whole round of things of having to get this, and we finally sent it off to CatalogIt. And once we sent it over to them, they stayed in touch with us through basically everything, saying, oh, hey, your numbers are kind of different here. Can we put this in this spot? Is this okay to go here? Or yes, everything's gone perfectly fine. All your stuff has been transferred, but we're missing these big, larger photographs. Do you have these? Can we attach them in some way? We'll do that for you. Just send them over to us. So we had a lot of communication like that, which was great, because it felt like we weren't being left in the dark of this, oh gosh, we're transferring to a new thing. What's going to happen with everything? And I don't know how many of you guys have Past Perfect. Those of you that do, you'll know that if you have a photograph, you have to attach it to a certain folder. And if that folder ever moves, you've lost that link now with that picture, and it's no longer present in Past Perfect. That is one of the big things that we were concerned about happening over our transfer with CatalogIt. Will we lose all of our links somehow, even though we've lost a lot of them in the past? And we had absolutely no problem with all of our photographs switching over. And in fact, it seems like that is no longer an issue, because CatalogIt doesn't store their photos the same way as Past Perfect did. CatalogIt actually stores your photo directly with your database record. There's no folder that you go put it in and have to make sure that no one accidentally moves that folder, nothing. So you never have to worry about that. I think that was our hugest concern in our database transfer. Was there anything else that you were concerned about, Sarah?
Well, I mean, I had, all of these lists of what ifs, and, how are we going to know if we lost information? And we were able to, we had a sort of a day where we said, we are no longer cataloging anything into Past Perfect. We're going to pull everything off and send that to CatalogIt. And so when we stopped, we were able to look at the number of records that we had. We sent that over to to CatalogIt. They migrated our data. We were able to pull that up and see that the same amount of records were in their system, so that we could make sure that we didn't lose anything. And I would say still to this day, and we've had it probably 3-4 months now, Emily, around there. I haven't
got past the 2-month period for our trial, so I think we're almost 3 months, right? Is that true, Dave?
I think that's about right. Yeah.
I have not found that we have lost anything. And in so many ways, it has improved our operations, and it has allowed us to better see what we need to do still. So I'll kind of pull up my back end side of CatalogIt, what the St. Joseph Museums looks like. So this is our objects database. Right now we have 43,000 some records in that. And you can see pretty readily that we don't have a lot of our objects photographed. So this to me was kind of like, oh, wow. Seeing it like this means we have a lot more work to do. And I'm excited for us to be able to do that. And the neat thing about CatalogIt is one of the things that we did, we had 5 diversity interns this summer. They were able to use their own cell phones to go into collections areas and photograph items and help us get things added. And so that's by far one of the best attributes of CatalogIt, is any of your volunteers can use their own cell phones. And so what we do is we just have a volunteer login, and we have them download the CatalogIt app onto their phone, and then we enter that information into their phone so that they can get on. And then, we show them how to look up numbers, find items, photograph them. It's really a simple process. And when they're doing that on the back end, if I'm on my computer, I can see as soon as they've taken that picture, whether what they're getting done. And so from a managerial perspective, it's been amazing. One of the projects that we've been working on is we have a contract archaeologist who has just joined our team this summer. And we have a large archaeological collection, the King Hill collection, that has not been entered into our database system in the past. And so I'm able every day to see how much she's getting done. So if I log in the morning, I can see she's starting out with 640 entries. And by the end of the day, she may be at 700 entries. And I can actually see the progress that she's making. Or I can look up a particular staff member that's working on a catalog project by their name. And I can see what they're starting out at the beginning of the day. And then at the end of the day, see what they've gotten accomplished. So those are some really big bonuses for me. And then, I don't know, Emily, do you want to talk about fielding research requests? Or, I mean, that's been a huge thing too.
Right, fielding research requests. We have been able to get someone that will send us an email, or they'll call in, and usually with Past Perfect, you'd have to go and search, and you would have to know exactly what field you're searching in. If you didn't know the correct field that someone put information in, you'd have to search a whole bunch of different fields just to get the information you're wanting. It would take a lot amount of time to get the information for that research request and then email it back to them or whatever. With CatalogIt, we can get their request and we can say, hey, why don't you go look at our hub? We have all of our archives and our photographs and our library. All of it is posted online. You can see all of it. It is there. We may not have a photograph attached to the item yet that you're looking at, but if you go find something and in the description you like how it looks, send us the object ID, and I usually tell them exactly where that's located on the record. They send us a list of those object IDs that they want to see. I go take pictures of those things here and upload them, and immediately our researchers have the information that they want to see. It has made research requests go so fast. Like, I don't know, Sarah, do you have the hub pulled up? There was one that Sarah Wilson had worked on a basketball. And she was able to get that done in no time flat, and they made a folder for that. So we have a basketball folder that she was able to actually upload. And you'll see our link on our own website. It is listed right there at the top under our research tab. You could just click on that and it'll take you directly to our hub and see our basketball folder that we were having people go to, like right there, St. Joe basketball history. I don't know if you want to tell more about that research request at all, Sarah, or?
Yeah, I mean, and just in general, I would say I've been able to field research requests so much more efficiently than ever before. And this was a particular, like right after we switched over to the hub of research that came in, that was about a tournament that had been held in St. Joseph for many years. It was associated with Hilliard company here in town. They make basketball floors, really high quality basketball floors. And so somebody was doing research on this particular tournament. And so I went into CatalogIt, I searched for the name of the tournament in quotes, it popped up immediately. And I was able to find a book that had a reference to it. And then I went upstairs, grabbed the book, took photos of the pages inside the book that related directly to St. Joseph and the research requests that they were making, uploaded those into the CatalogIt hub right from my phone. And then I was able just to turn around and shoot them an email and say, all the information is here. Here's the link. And it was so quick. Another one that we had, a research that we had right before we switched over to CatalogIt, I had somebody email and they said, I want to know what businesses were in St. Joseph during Western migration. That's a really broad research request. And so I waited like 2 or 3 weeks. I reached out to some of our people who are knowledgeable on that subject, but we all kind of were coming back like, that's very, very broad. We're not sure where to direct them. And so after we had the hub up, I just sent them the link to our hub and said, here's the link to our entire database, research what you want. And if you need more information about a particular item, let us know. And they got back to me like 2 or 3 days later, and they were so excited because, they just found the wealth of information that they wanted. I wouldn't have known exactly what they wanted, but they knew based on their own interest in what they are, they were researching what to do. Same thing. I had a research request about a particular Pony Express writer recently. I was able to pull up in our database the name of that particular Pony Express writer. We had a photograph of him, already online, maybe a little bit of information, but we also had in our files more information about him. And some of that had been digitized, but hasn't been linked into our system yet. So I was able to just take all of the information that we had about him, either photograph resources that hadn't been digitized yet, or link stuff that had been digitized into the CatalogIt database, and then send them the link. And it's instantaneous. Like when you're photographing something or linking it in, it's going straight from the back end where we're putting that information onto the hub. So you can send them that link and it's getting published, and it's getting published instantaneously with a watermark, a St. Joseph Museum watermark in our case. So fielding research requests has just been amazing. It's just been a huge difference. So this is, I'll get out of here. So this is what our hub looks like. And you can see all of the stuff we don't have photographs for. So that makes it really easy to know what we have to do. But we can also make our own folders. Like a big project that we've been working on now is the Black Archives Museum, because we want to have that information out for our community. So we're going in and digitizing all of our Black archives that we have, and then we're adding them specifically to a Black Archives Museum folder. So one of the things that we found is like our collection is so huge. When we catalog it onto the hub, say our photographs collection, it's starting with numbers and then alphabetically A's. Our photograph collection is so large that it's not all published, but that's farther. Dan, have you guys done something on your side that has?
We've expanded out to the length that the search engine will allow. It actually, your stuff actually is all published. I mean, if somebody search for anything by topic, they'll find it, but it will only allow that display ends at, I think, I don't know, 13,000 or something like 14,000. So you can have that many things that will display there, but they're all searchable, but they're only going to display that many if you scroll all the way to the bottom. Yeah.
Well, it used to stop at N, and you guys have done something on your end because it's now stopping at T. So you must have added some more. So
it's increasing.
Yeah, it is increasing. So our last collections committee meeting, we agreed to accession in over 5,000 items, and a large collection of that was completely a digital collection that a family had put together here in St. Joseph. And I think if I go to all on this, I'm not sure where do you know where that work that Julie Matthews is doing, Emily, is stored?
You probably should go to photographs, or you can search in all, which is fine, and then just type in the Moss. They should come up from there.
And so she's completely working remotely on those Moss. So, I mean, that's the other thing is, now we can just give a volunteer a password and access. And so she can put in this whole collection, and it's instantaneously getting published as she's putting it in. And there were quite a lot of photographs and historical information in that collection. It's a really nice collection. So lots going on in many different ways now that we have it. Emily, what else do you want to share?
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk a little about kind of the back end, what it looks like for us. Let me share my screen. Share. Okay, so I'm in our all entries right now. And I know Dan talked a little bit about how to search for things in CatalogIt, and searching for things in CatalogIt is so amazingly great. It's just like searching for stuff on Google or whatever. One of his things that he did mention also was that CatalogIt has the trinomial numbering system, which many of us use now. But I know a lot of museums used to use an older numbering system. Maybe you had two numbers with a slash. We have a lot of those. Or maybe you didn't put the full year. It was just 09.1 point whatever. And a lot of the times the really weird numbering systems, CatalogIt doesn't like to search those specifically. So if I would put in a number, say 143/4027, it won't pull that up. It'll pull up a whole bunch of things that I think may go with it, but it won't pull that up exactly. But if I go back in here and tell it to use quotes, I want specifically this object. And I tell it to search that, and it'll pull it up. So I can pull up this basket, and it'll pull up all the information that we have with this basket. It takes a little bit because we have such a huge collection that sometimes if you haven't signed in for a little bit and then you go back and sign in, it takes just a moment for it to pull everything in. But that makes it so it's so easy for us to find stuff. If you can't find the specific thing that you're looking for, just put it in quotes and it'll pull it up. Another thing that we haven't really talked about as much is user access on here compared to user access that we were used to with CatalogIt. So with CatalogIt, our user access, we would be able to pick the fields that we wanted to have everyone have. So we'd have our owner field or our administrator field where they can access everything throughout CatalogIt. Or we would have archivist field, or we would have a curator field, or just a management field, or a volunteer field. So all those things, and you can choose what everyone that is in those fields is allowed to see or access when they're using the Past Perfect program. With CatalogIt, we currently only have the owner read write or read only versions. However, as I've talked to Dan, that is one of their big things that they're working on, and being able to make it so we can have a more I guess fine-tune ability to control what people use and what they see. One thing that we're really hoping that we eventually get is over here in your files. If you click, you'll be able to see all your files that you have active. Like we have our archaeology, our archives, our basket, all that stuff. We'd really love a file that we can go and put in restricted things, like something that we would be having to send back for NAGPRA, things that we don't want our general volunteer to be able to go and get access to, but we still want certain staff members to be able to look at. So that's kind of something that we're really hoping that we get to see in the future.
Yes.
I don't know if you wanted to say anything more about that, Dan?
You will see that in the future, Emily. I appreciate you bringing that up. CatalogIt is constantly evolving. And the fact that it's on the web makes it actually kind of easy to do those sorts of things that Emily and Sarah have probably seen many times. Now, as you're working along down there in the bottom where the number of entries box appears, you might just see a little refresh appear there periodically. And that just means that we've done something. We've fixed a bug, we've added some kind of new functionality, we might have added a new classification somewhere, but you click that refresh and within a few seconds you're refreshed and you have whatever's new. You don't have to go to some website and download something new or contact us to download some kind of new version. You're constantly getting updated and you're always going to have the latest, newest version. So once we make changes like the ability to do that fine grained access control, you'll get a little refresher, you'll get refreshed, and it'll be implemented. We'll announce it usually in a newsletter or depending on the level of the functionality. We may announce it via an email, but we announce big functionalities like that typically in our newsletter. But you'll have already had it and been up and potentially have already found it before we even announce that it's there.
Dan, this is Dennis McBurney. Don't you already have some access control in that you can choose not to publish to the hub if you've got something that's in process or needs to be kept away from the public?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the hub is only the things that you're allowing to go to the public to be publicly visible, and you have control over what items are published and also what data is published. So you don't, you're not publishing all the fields that you've got cataloged. You can pick the specific pieces of data you want the public to see.
Okay, very good.
You can see it kind of on our folders over here. See the little world thing that's on our archives folder or our Black archives folder? That signifies that we have it published to the web. Those folders are published. And when we go down here to our web publishing section, you can click on that and you can have 3 different levels of how you have stuff visible. So you have your account. What shows up? Is it your account name? Everything can be shown up there. You have per entry level, what is shown up on your entries. And then you also have your media level, like what kind of media are you showing? How's your watermark look? Where is your watermark set on your photos? You can control all of that from the back end, and then you only will see those things on the web that you decide that you want everyone to see. So if you don't want people to see who the donor was, they don't see who the donor is.
The other thing that I will say is when we switched over to CatalogIt, we have seen the number of research requests that we have had to field decline a whole lot. So we maybe had 300 or 400 research requests a year, or we were getting 2 or 3 research requests a day. Now that CatalogIt is up, it's kind of quiet in terms of those requests coming. And I submit annual reports to our board and to our city telling them, like, we field this many research requests. Well, people are doing their own research, which saves staff time, but my numbers are going to look like they have plummeted. And actually, we're probably serving more people through research requests, but we need to be able to figure out how many people are accessing our CatalogIt hub and using that for research. We've also found that those research requests are way more specific. And so rather than saying, what businesses were in St. Joseph during the Oregon-California Trail years, it's, I would like to access this particular document. Can you digitize that for me? And so we can then go into our collections and get that one particular document and have it digitized. So it makes our job so much easier, so much easier. But having the ability to track those numbers in the future is going to be really helpful for us.
Kind of jumping to a different topic, I wanted to show you guys one last field that I have used a lot since our transfer, and it is the profile field that CatalogIt has down here. Within their profile field, it has the ability for you to see your accessions, add new accessions, persons, your loans in and out, your locations of items that are in your collection. You can also type in if you have temporary custody, and you can pull up your temporary custodies and all that stuff. One thing that I have learned when we transferred over is that Past Perfect does not give you the ability to really fine tune your people or your organizations or your locations like CatalogIt does. So it does take a little bit of cleanup. Actually, it does take a lot of cleanup. This part of the process is probably my most daunting part, but if you bite off just a few pieces at a time, take an hour or 2, work on it, and then go do something else, it gets better. So kind of going into our persons one, where you guys saw Dan, he pointed out that when you go on a record, it creates this little tag, and you can go and click on that person and you have their biography of the person. Well, and here is where we get to say what this person, how they're defined is. How do we put their name in? How does it look in our system? What do people look up in the drop-down field when they're making a new accession? You'll see at the very top, we have obvious things that are not people. And that is still something that we're slowly working on. But usually I will go through and I will pick one person that I want to work on, and I will go combine all those records together. Just recently, I worked on Edmund J. Eckel, which is a famous architect here in Missouri. So if I type in Eckel, you'll see, let me scroll down a little bit. You'll see everything that has the last name of Eckel. And you'll see this first one right here. The name kind of looks a little weird. It has a whole bunch of commas in it and everything. That is not actually one that I have been working on. It's one that I've purposely left there so that you guys can see what someone would have put in when they're doing a accession record in our old CatalogIt or old Past Perfect program, and how that kind of looked when it transferred over. It didn't really come over very well. So if I go and click on that, it shows that this catalog has 6 records in it, but that's not really the name that I want it to be under. So for me to switch it to a name that I chose it to be under, the correct name for Eckel, I would go over here and, oops, I have this thing in my way. There we go. Replace this with the Eckel that I want it to be. So I type in Edmund J, and here it brings out his full name. Here's the record that we're in right now, and it brings out his full name. I want to make sure that all of our records have as much information as possible if we can. So I'm going to replace all these 6 records into my Edmund J. Eckel folder, and I'll replace them. As Dan said, you'll see the little refresh button pop up because I just pulled all these references out of this folder. Nothing exists under this name anymore. So I just have to click refresh, and it'll make sure that all this stays the same. And then I can just go over here and simply delete this folder. Now you can't just delete a folder. It's not as easy just to delete a folder. You have to actually go to edit. You have to specifically go down here to the bottom of your page, click the delete button. Then it asks you again, are you sure you want to delete? And you click that. And finally, that folder is completely gone. So if I go up here again and look up ECHL, that admin one that was wrong will no longer be visible. However, the one that I want people to see, this one right here with my whole string of things connected to it, is down here. So if I go and click on that, it'll show the whole record for Edmund J. ECHL that we have. And currently I have 377 records attached to him. It has all of his information that I have so far put in there. I can add so much more information in here. As Dan was saying, we can add web links. So if we go click on a web link to the man who designed St. Joseph, it'll take us directly over to that web link. I don't know, did it make it so you guys can see it?
Yep.
Yeah, it'll take us directly over to that link, and people can peruse there and see all those things that they have connected to Edmund J. ECHL. One more area that I'd like to show you in this profile section, organizations basically is just the same as going through and looking at people. You go through and you create your organization. You can attach organizations to certain people or attach people to other people, depending on how they're related. The one thing that I had the most issue is, and that caused me the most time, and I'd say definitely anxiety, was locations. Because if I lose a location of something, it is gone. I am not going to be able to find it unless I specifically go find that item in our collection, make sure I know exactly where its location is, and then re-put it back into the system, which is scary. And a lot of our locations came in here a little odd, but they're all there. And I just have to go through, and what Dan said is a hierarchical system. I have to go through and just make sure all of our stuff is set up correctly. So I started at the top of the line. I made our biggest building, and then I've gone down to the floors within the building, the rooms within the building, the shelving units that's there, each drawer that's in there. So for one example, if I wanted to look up, say, my fur cart that's in our storage room, I would look up, let's see, it's cart 14. Cart 14, and it shows right here. We have cart 14 in our room G214 of the south building of our Frederick Avenue site. It's all hierarchical, and we can find everything right there. So whenever you have someone putting in a location, they can never mess this up. Once your location is in there, you have to go through a drop-down menu in your accession catalog and find this location. And it's super easy. You just type it in and it's right there. And on this cart, I have 33 items. So that also makes doing an inventory of something so easy. All you do is go look up your cart. There's your inventory of all your items that should be on that cart. You can take that list, go check the items on your cart, make sure everything's there how it should be, and we're all done. I can't kind of say enough how much this has changed my ability to work with our collection. Before it was so frustrating. I know some people love Past Perfect and then some people don't, but just in my opinion, I would never want to go back to what I was working with Past Perfect compared to what I'm working with now with CatalogIt. So that is my overview.
The other thing I would say is in the past, we've had people, like they just see the front side of the St. Joseph Museum's, what's on display. They don't know all of the behind the scenes. And as museum professionals, you guys know how much is going on behind the scenes. So people would not have a terrific understanding of the scope of what we do. And we would also get comments like, oh, my mom donated this to the St. Joseph Museums 20 years ago, and it just got hidden away and nobody's ever seen it. Or, don't give your stuff to the museum because they just store it somewhere and nobody gets to see it ever again. And so this has been a great way for us to say, we have all of the stuff that we've been collecting for over 90 years. Here's how you access it. If you want to see something in particular, if you're, you can look it up in our database. And if your mom gave this and you want to see if we still have it and what it looks like, here's how you do it, which has been just like, instantaneously overnight. I feel like it makes our reputation better. And then we can also tell our community, look at our CatalogIt database, look at the photographs. And if there's somebody in a photograph that that we haven't identified, send us an email and let us know who that is. And so then it allows our community to start helping us populate that database with their information and their knowledge too. So that's also been really helpful. So we have just a few minutes. I'm wondering if people have particular questions.
This is Dennis McBurney again. I guess I'll ask it to the group. When you go into CatalogIt, you've got different accounts. In my case, I've got a personal account, but we're looking at potentially doing a pilot in my account and then going to the organization to show them what they could do with their collections. In this case, it's a postcard club, and we're looking for the potential of publishing a collective information, because not everybody has everything. But how difficult is it to migrate? Say if I set up a few hundred postcards in my personal account, and then we set up an organizational account, how difficult is that to move? Or another case, I guess, for the broader audience, if you've got a large acquisition, like was talked about earlier, and it's already in CatalogIt with another organization, can you migrate fairly easily?
Well, that's a good question, Dennis. I mean, we decided that, or we designed CatalogIt so that your things really are separate, and there's not, I mean, they're private to you or to your organization. They're not otherwise shared unless you want to share them. So we actually hadn't initially created the ability to sort of to transfer whole records or in your case, whole folders, for instance, from one account to another account. But you can export the data pretty easily. And then if you've exported that data, you've exported it using all the CatalogIt fields, and it's actually easy to import that stuff as well. I don't know what I wouldn't really want to call it a glitch, but the one thing is you wouldn't be able to upload all your images instantaneously, but we would actually be able to help you do that, to move all those images, copy all those images from the one account into the new account. So that can certainly be done. We've talked about migrating past perfect, and we import, of course, all the images, all the documents, everything else that's associated with that. So we've done that quite a bit, and not just from past perfect, but from, Microsoft Access and, all the different kinds of systems. We've done lots of migrations. So, yeah, you mentioned, you're working in your own account and maybe working in the organization account. We also work with a lot of consultants that are working in multiple accounts at the same time. And if that's the case, we can actually set it up so that you actually, using your single login that you use to get into your own account, you could actually navigate to different accounts. So you don't have to have different email addresses and different passwords for each one. You can actually, and they don't share anything other than the fact that you can access them. It's not like, because you're accessing somebody else's account, they can access yours. It's not at all that way. It just gives you the ability to access multiple different types of accounts with your single login. So we just need to help you set that up when you're ready to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned fine-grained access control. I'm a former Oracle database administrator, so you get to play with all those fun things.
Excellent.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome, Dennis.
Dan, there's a couple of questions in the chat. There's a few more, but the first is, how do you organize the data over 50 some odd facilities museums? And that's from Amanda Van Wert. And Amanda, can you jump on and kind of clarify your question for Dan? Maybe.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So right now we're using Past Perfect 4, and we're having to scatter. We have like 50 some odd sets of data across the state of Missouri. And every month, 3 months, I send out a call to gather those into a centralized database. So migrating to a cloud-based server or online, what have you, how does CatalogIt organize? Like, do you put each facility in a folder, or like, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around.
If it sounds like you're using PastPerfect 4, and you're probably using their scatter gather function right now. So you've got people that are doing recording, and then it gets kind of gathered back into your system. Now, I do have to warn you, we've done a lot of migrations from PastPerfect 4 users that have been using scatter gather, and I have yet to see a case where actually everything is being scattered and gathered properly. So just to warn you, you're going to find that some things are just not gathered, or they're not correct. You're going to find that things are just not going to be correct. I don't want to scare you too much, but that's scatter gather is, I think, problematic, and I guess that's probably why PastPerfect discontinued it when they moved to PastPerfect 5. But actually, it would be much easier for your users, because they can log in from their computer any place and be able to do the work, and the work is all getting centralized anyway in the cloud. And so you can go on and see instantly what somebody's created in the southeast part of Missouri or in the northwest part of Missouri. It's all being done instantaneously. One of our big users here in California is the California State Military Museum, and they actually have, they have artifacts and people working at all the different military installations all over California. He's got 28 or 29 active sites, and those guys are all working together. And he's doing the main guy at the main museum in Sacramento is doing a lot of the accession records himself, but the cataloging is being done all over the state all the time. So it actually works really quite well. And then how you organize is really going to be up to you. Do you want to have each one of your separate, the entities have their own folders and sort of manage their own sort of sub collections within yours? That's really going to be up to you. Yeah. I hope that answers your question there. So let's see, there's another one here from Linda. Ability to provide people to see different levels of information online. So if you're so the CatalogIt Hub, the CatalogIt Hub is just open to the world. So that's the entire world can see whatever you're allowing to be published out there. If you want to publish directly to your own website, then you have the ability to put certain folders, for instance, behind password protected parts of your own website. So that's how you'd want to, if you want to control access for what the public can see, that's how you'd have to do it. You'd need to subscribe to use the API and then put those into password protected parts of your site. Let's see. So Jan is asking about contact and membership details. So that's true. CatalogIt does not include that contact, the membership management function that PastPerfect does include. So we, a lot of our clients either, first of all, you own your PastPerfect system. So even after we migrate all your data and everything, you still actually own your entire system, and it's entirely there, for you to go back and reference. But if you're using it for a membership, you can continue to use it for membership, and that actually kind of frees that computer that it lives on to be just used for membership, and nobody has to try and schedule their time to go in there to do cataloging. But we also have lots of clients that have moved away from PastPerfect's membership management, but we do not include the membership management currently. At some point we might. It really is a very different function than collections management. That's really the way that we see that.
So Jan, we use PastPerfect for membership because that's what we were doing in the past. We're still using PastPerfect for membership, but we are looking at other more robust systems for membership because we just want to be able to integrate our membership into our website more. And so that's been one of the things that when we made the decision to switch over to CatalogIt, we just decided we'll start researching other membership programs as well, because my feeling is PastPerfect was made to be a museum collections management program. They added in the membership feature, but now with the current technology, there are probably much better membership programs that we would like to use. And then as far as the specific section for accession records and exhibit files, yes, those are in CatalogIt. And Emily, you could probably speak. You like them better than what you were using before, or same, or?
Yeah, I actually like them a lot better than what I was using with PastPerfect. With PastPerfect, it just kind of gives any new accession, or not just accession, it gives any new temporary custody or even exhibit just a kind of arbitrary number. It's number 1 in line, or it's your 5th exhibit or whatever. With CatalogIt, it'll actually give you almost like your trinomial accession numbers. It'll give it 2021 point, this is your first exhibit in this year. So you'll have all of your exhibits for 1 year kind of grouped together, and you can see those. You can actually look at if an exhibit is still on display, or if it has been completed, or anything that's done with it. Same thing with all your temporary custodies. You can see if It has been accessioned. Everything that you had with Past Perfect is still available to you. It just has its own file. It's in that profile section that I kind of touched on before.
Actually, just to add a little bit more to that as well, Jen, within the accession records in CatalogIt, you can also include all, copies of all the documents in your accessions, in your exhibition records, your loan records. You click on that profile, and within the profile, you can actually have copies of all those documents there. Upload PDFs of the donor gift forms, upload your loan agreements, correspondence with the donor or the lender or the venue that it's going to be exhibited at. Attach all those things, they could all live right there at the level of that accession record or exhibition record. And as you're going through your catalog, you can go from one particular item, look at the exhibition that was tied to, and then also look at all those documents. They're all right there, really within a couple of clicks. You can be looking at the loan record itself, or the condition report from the venue where that item was on display.
So
they're
if you
all right there.
About the subfolder, somebody asked if you're able to create a subfolder within a folder. I don't believe so. Dan, you maybe, yeah. So you just create a new folder. So like we have a Black Archives folder is one that we've been working on, or baskets might be another. What you do is within that, you create your new folder, and then the items that you want to go into that folder are going to have multiple folders. So if you look up here, this particular item lives within our photographs database, but we're also adding it to our Black Archives Museum folder. And then we're publishing that online. So there's not like a subfolder that you publish. You create a new folder, and then those items that you want to be in that new folder, you also add them to that new folder and publish that new folder.
Exactly right. Yeah. So the folders are really they're just groupings of your collections. You can group them however you want to group them. And just as she showed, you can show one item can live in as many folders as you want it to live in, whatever makes sense to you for workflow or for publishing, whatever purposes.
Does it connect the accessions with the donor and any other accessions from them like Past Perfect does? Emily, do you want to share your screen and show that?
Yes, it does. So if you go over, let me share my screen again. So if we go back over to our temporary custodies, we can click on one that I just got done working on, and it'll still give all of those fields, everything in there. You can click on the donor and it'll give the donor's information on how to do it, and it connects everything together just like it does for any of your regular accessions. So all your records are just the same.
Can you show them an accession?
Well, the accessions are what we've all been working on.
So those temporary custodies are our new accessions that are coming in. When you have our other accessions, yeah.
So here's a accession that we were talking about before with the Moss family photos. And this just basically attaches to everything. Oh, I'm sorry, this is the wrong one, but still the same. It basically just attaches everything that you have here, and you can go click on if the collections committee has seen it, and it'll say if it is in there or everything. So it's all there.
It is there. And you can also attach, of course, all your documents as well, donor gift form, shipping records, whatever else ties to that accession. You can attach it all to the record there.
Right.
Can you look at that inventory question, Emily? The list for inventories.
Oh, yeah. So I haven't used the inventory feature a lot, but if you go up onto your corner, you can create any report basically like you would create reports for Past Perfect. I think Dan kind of talked on the reports function, and you can pull any information that you want, as little information. You can just have it give you an inventory of specific object IDs, and you can go check all those just like you would on any inventory through Past Perfect.
Yeah, the inventory is really, those what Emily was just showing there is when you go to those profiles. So there's profiles, we have those icons for kind of the main profiles that you typically use, but there's also that huge list of every other profile that every profile type that lives in CatalogIt. And you can find from any of those profiles, you can create what's called a usage report. And it's just a one-click report that shows everything, all your things in your collections, all your records that have some connection to whatever that profile is, whether it's a location within the museum or a color or a material or a person or a place. So to do an inventory, I mean, it can be really easy. You go down, like she was just showing that the cart that had the clothing on it. You can do a usage report from that, and it will just quickly print out all the things that are using that specific location. And that makes it really easy to just print that out and use that as your inventory form to just go through and verify that those items are all there, that they're in, you know, the condition that it says that they're in. And there's fields in CatalogIt also to document the inventory itself, that they were inventoried on, you know, on August 11th by Emily, and you know, and if she has any specific notes, she could add the notes into the record there, but it's actually easy to do. Let's see. So somebody else is asking about report features. So I showed a little bit of reporting features just to show, you know, for instance, how you'd reply to somebody that requested some basic information for you. Inventories, we already talked just a second ago about using that the usage report for inventories. It's really very simple. So it does not use any kind of outside report like crystal reports. CatalogIt, you don't have to do that. It's actually easy to do reporting within CatalogIt. There's another type of report where you can actually download all the information directly to Excel, and you can decide what fields you want to include to download directly to Excel. You can include a thumbnail image. You can actually include a QR code as well to the Excel report if you want to download that, an internal QR code, or even a QR code that would direct people to the hub site. If you're creating labels, for instance, and you want to include a QR code that actually links to what the information you're making public, you can include that as well. So yeah, so there's a lot of reporting functions. You don't have to do anything fancy at all like crystal reports. It's actually pretty easy.
So Jan has asked the question, is it something that's affordable for a small museum? I'll answer that as the director. So I think maybe it's just slightly more than what we were paying annually for Past Perfect, but we will have to add on the membership feature, so that will make it more for us. But what we're getting is so much more powerful that it's worth it. And it allows us to utilize our volunteers better. It allows us to use our remote volunteers. It turns everybody's cell phone into a tool that they can use to help the museum when they're working here. It saves us so much staff time in terms of research requests. It gives us a better reputation because people can see everything that we're doing and have access to it. So from my perspective, it has been well worth the investment. I think Dan probably has more specifics on pricing. And if you go into, like he has a webinar tomorrow, I think you can ask him on those. But in my opinion, as it stands today, we've just been into to CatalogIt for about 3 months. My answer is yes, it's affordable. And I'm so glad we did it. I feel like it's going to help us move forward in much more efficient ways. And it allows us to see what we need yet to do much easier. So.
In terms of pricing, we're completely transparent. We publish all the pricing is listed on our website. There's no hidden fees. There's no hidden, secret charge for anything. It's all right there on our website. A small museum, for us, a small museum actually goes up to 25,000 entries. So that's pretty good size for a small museum. And an entry is any specific item that you've documented. So it could be, like that piece of basketry that Emily showed earlier. So there's the basket, but the basket also has 6 other photos, and it's tied to an accession record, and it's tied to the people, the records of the people that that donated it, and that's all still just one record. That basket is the one entry. So 25,000 of those. And that starts at $449.99, so basically $450 a year. That includes up to 8 users. It includes publishing to the CatalogIt Hub. So I would actually argue that it's probably less expensive than Past Perfect, certainly if you're using Past Perfect Online, because you're not paying to publish online to the Hub, which is sort of the equivalent of Past Perfect Online. So I think we will compare very favorably in terms of that.
Somebody asked, when we have interns working on, is there an approval or review setting before listings go live? So like when we've been having them take photographs, what I've been doing is just going on, like seeing, because you can see them pop up as they're doing it, just kind of keeping an eye, like if they're cropping them kind of sloppily, or you can go in and fix that. When they've been entering data, Emily, I think you're right, following kind of behind them, just making sure that they're doing it, not like right on top of them, but it's pretty easy for us to see. So they may go live, but it's not like they're entering a whole lot of stuff that's going to be wrong and go live, and it's going to be disastrous from our side.
And Dan also kind of showed a feature that I have been using sometimes. You can actually make a folder that says, to be reviewed or to be looked at, and they could add their thing to that folder before it goes into another folder if you wanted to. And that can be a review folder. And then once you're done reviewing it, you can move it into the specific folder that is going to be published online.
Yeah, as soon as you put something into a folder that's being published, that item is automatically published. So having a working folder is exactly, but that'd be the way to get around it. If you really want to make sure that your interns or your volunteers or whoever it is doing things the way you want them done, have them work in that temporary folder, and then you can review, you push it, you move it into the folder that's published, and you've just put it out to the world.
Okay, well, I don't know that I see any more questions. Thank you, Emily, and thank you, Dan, and thank all of you for being here with us today. If you want to look at the St. Joseph Museum's CatalogIt Hub, it's available online through our St. Joseph Museum's website under the Research tab. And then CatalogIt website, Dan has also directed you to if you have more information, and they have webinars if you're interested. And I'm sure that you can reach out to Dan. Dan, what's the best? Do you have an email that they can contact you at?
You reach me directly, dan@catalogit.app. That's .app.app. You can also reach our support team, support@catalogit.app. We're all always here and always happy to help. Yeah, and I encourage you to take a look again at either watch our recorded webinars or join us for one of our weekly webinars. Reach out to some of your neighbors there at St. Joseph. Let's see, I know one of our customers now for over a year certainly has been the White River Valley down in southern Missouri. White River Valley Historical Society has been using CatalogIt for quite a while. I mean, I didn't really mention much about who our clients are, but we've got clients not only across the United States, but really all over the world, ranging from the National Art Gallery of the Bahamas, or a castle in Denmark that the same families lived in for 450 years is using CatalogIt to document their collection, down to local organizations like White River Valley. We're very excited to have as well. So we're here.
Well, thank you. And if you have questions, then you want to reach out to Emily or I as colleagues, and we can give you our thoughts on it. I'm Sara at stjosephmuseums.org, and Emily's the same, Emily at stjosephmuseum.org, and we'd be happy to answer any questions from a user perspective. But as I said, it's really transformed our organization and just made us way more efficient, and I'm super glad that we made the choice. So thank you, Dan, and thank you, Emily, for working on this project. It's kind of made a dream of mine come true.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Well, thank you.